Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yes, it's a beautiful morning. It's going to be another hot day, like always, but it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. No rain at the moment. What more can I say? It's a beautiful day here. And today, we are going to talk about America and about places that you live and what to do if you don't like it there. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, just because sometimes things get on my nerves here and I think about living somewhere else. Sometimes I think about what would it be like if I lived in the U.S. Sometimes I think, what would it be like if I lived in Ecuador, if I lived somewhere else? And, every place has its share of problems. And Thailand is no different. Some people think it's paradise, it's utopia, but once you live here, there are pluses and minuses, and that kind of goes without saying to anybody semi-intelligent. But listen, I wanted to get into some news real quick here before we get started. Jimmy Buffett has died. And for me, that's a big deal because I grew up listening to him, and because he was, not only was he very popular, but he amassed a fortune. And I was just looking at him a couple months ago about how extensive his empire is. And so I don't know, what's going to happen. Who knows who's going to take it over or anything like that. But he has passed away. I guess he's been sick for a little while, and he's no more. It says cause of death has not been released immediately, but it said he passed away peacefully on the night of September 1st, surrounded by his family, friends, music, and dogs. He lived his life like a song till the very last breath and will be missed beyond measure by many. And, yeah, he's going to be missed. But there are a lot of people, a lot of stars that, as one person noted yesterday, these people are getting old and they're going to pass away. And that's what happens in life, unfortunately. And so this is another thing I've been thinking about this. And, there's nothing you can do about it except hold on as long as you can. And, that's it. Pretty good coffee. Their cappuccino is better than their espresso here. Their espresso kind of tastes average. Their cappuccino is pretty good. So, I'm at Cafe Amazon, if you don't know, by the way. And what else is going on here? Jimmy Buffett, that's big news. We already talked about, skin cancer. Okay, wow. Well, it's funny that was, well, not funny, but ironic, I guess, that skin cancer is the cause of death, because I know some people who have had skin cancer and they had to have it cut out and have all kinds of things done. So it just goes to show you that skin cancer is like any cancer. It can be very dangerous and fatal. So, what else is going on? Well, we know already about the former Prime Minister, R.I.P. Jimmy. Yes, thank you very much there, Richard. And well, let me see here. Hang on a second. We know about the former Prime Minister and how it was only, it was like, what, yesterday was the 2nd, So it was about 10 days. 10 days from when he asked for a pardon, he got it. Okay. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. But, you know, as I was saying the other day, this just goes to show you that certain people have certain privileges, and he is one of them. And I don't like it. That's my opinion. It's not that I don't like him or anything like that. I just don't like, and I don't like the Red Bull thing going on. I mean, you know, it sets a bad precedent. So that's the way I think about that. But before I get started, before we go further into this, do me a favor, click the like button, share this video. I never ask people to share the video. Yeah, I'm sure it was prearranged, you know, behind closed doors. Subscribe, join, hit the join button, you know? I mean, it might cost you $1.99. Hit the join button. Go down in the description. Everything is down there in the description. How you can become a sponsor. You can use the Cash App. You can buy me a coffee. You can use the Patreon patron. Become a Patreon patron. Or you can go to my website at anamericaninbangkok.com and take a look around. There's all kinds of merch there. There's mouse pads, there's mugs, there's t-shirts, what else? Caps, baseball caps. There's all kinds of stuff on there. And you can also just follow me on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So there it is there. Thank you very much. I'd appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about, is America trash? And really, I got on this because it's not really about America, although America is under higher scrutiny, higher level of scrutiny than other countries. But it's about when you live somewhere, if you don't want to be there, we, and I mean most of us who watch YouTube, have the privilege of being able to say, I don't want to live here. Now, there are some people who are living in the United States and they just can't figure it out. They don't know how to go about living abroad. But living abroad is becoming more prevalent, and there's a higher percentage of people that are living abroad. So I would say if you're in your early 20s and you're like, listen, I got a good job, I don't want to quit yet, I gotta rack up some, I gotta put some money away, I gotta stack the bills. By the time you're 30, 35, if you really want, you should have enough money to go somewhere and at least give it a go. You should be able to start out coming over here, going to wherever it is that you want to go to, as long as it's not a really expensive place, although some people may be able to do that. But you should be able to do it. It's something where you figure out a way to earn more than you spend here, and you can get out of Dodge. Now, the reason that I'm discussing this is because I saw a couple of videos, and one of the videos had to do with, if you leave your country, you're not patriotic. If you want to live somewhere else, you're not as big of a patriot as other people are. And maybe that's true. Maybe you're not as much of a patriot. However, I don't believe it means you're not patriotic. There's some guy out here with a gimbal. I don't know if he's a Westerner or he is a Thai. Oh, he's got his he's got his little gimbal. Anyway, what was I saying here? Unpatriotic. I don't believe that if you move out of the country, you're not patriotic. Okay, let's get that straight right now. Are you as patriotic? No, I think you're thinking about yourself. And while some people may want to live in their country because they want to support their country, oh, it's the greatest, I'm sorry, I don't buy into that. And there's a whole lot of reasons why people don't want to live in America who are Americans. And I'm going to give you some of those reasons. I'm going to talk about exactly why people are leaving and what they want to do about it. And one of the reasons, right off the bat, is the work-life balance. Now, maybe with the COVID, it's starting to change a tad bit, but let's face it, if you're in America and you've got a job, it's a decent job. It's not a great job, it's not a bad job, it's a decent job. Let's just put it out there. It's a decent job. And you decide you want to take a month off. Well, a lot of places you can't do that. You lose your job. There are some, for sure. But usually it's you get a week off a year, or you get 2 weeks off a year. You got to put in the time before you get any time off. It's not like that in Europe. And that's a big downer for people. It's huge. Because you want to take off. I mean, think about it. You got a week off. Even if you put it with a couple, like a 3-day weekend or something like that, you don't have all that much time. So the reality is, you're not going to be able to go some of the places that you might want to go because there's just not enough time. By the time you get there, get settled in, you might only be there for a few days. So the work-life balance is something that is extremely important. And, you know, in America, I still think that Americans have that live-to-work mentality, or at least a large percentage. Maybe it's decreasing, but I always thought that you work to live, you don't live to work. Ever since I went to England, that was the first big trip I took on my own, where I didn't have the military or my parents or anything like that. And I was, I don't know how old I was, but when I went, maybe 25 or something like that. When I came back, I thought to myself, man, I don't have to be stuck here. I can go anywhere. And I just didn't have the tools at the time to leave. I didn't know what to do. So I was kind of stuck for a while. But that is a big deal, is that in America, you're expected to be for the company. You got to be a company man. And a lot of people are not company men now. Let's face that. I mean, you know, most people are wising up and knowing, well, I'm going to get this watch at the end of a 40-year career, and that just doesn't cut it. You know, I mean, who wants that? I mean, you might have a decent little severance package, but the stress and burnout that Americans feel is real. And, you know, the work-life balance comes down to your health. How healthy are you going to be? Do you ever get to relax for long periods of time? Do you carry work with you all the time when you come home? And I can tell you that in some ways, Thailand is becoming like America with that regard for some people. You know, they're cleaning here today. In Europe, the standard working week is around 38 to 40 hours. After that point, you're not expected to answer emails or be on call. Many companies have early finishes on Friday to celebrate the weekend, and my wife has that. Her company is a European company. She has a half day off on Friday. Now, she may continue to work just because she wants to get some things done or something. But if she wants, she can take a half day off. She has some freedom now. And it isn't really as bad as in some countries, but if you're looking at it, there are some people who would say, oh, I don't want to continue doing this. I don't like the work-life balance in the United States, so I got to get out of here. Now, the other thing Another issue in the United States is the cost of living, which is rising dramatically, as many people have noted, and it's going to continue to rise. And the way to get around that for people who are not earning more money is you have to cut things. You have to cut out certain things. You may not be able to get that pint of Haagen-Dazs every week. You might have to cut back and only get it once a month. There are little things like that, and some people really, they're really struggling. So between the rising house prices and rental figures, the gentrification of more affordable areas, this is a crisis. The cost of living is a crisis. I mean, we were talking about the COLA for Social Security. This year it's projected to be no more than about 3%, maybe 2.7%. That's nothing. You're losing money. My biggest concern is that we've lost an entire generation to video games and cell phones. Well, that too. Who's going to do the work that needs to be done to move the country forward? And that is one of the reasons why America is in the bind that it's in. I don't want to just blame it all on cell phones and video games, because not everybody is playing those. But I can tell you, when you look around in a mall, I would say probably 70 to 80% of people are sitting there looking at their phone. That's what they do. So that doesn't help you get forward. I mean, the communication that is available now is great. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to go on YouTube. I wouldn't be able to make phone calls to the U.S. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things if it wasn't for the technology. However, with the sense of entitlement that many people feel in the U.S., and not only the U.S., but in other countries, including Thailand, I think it's safe to say that we're not progressing at the rate that we should. And I will tell you, usually now, I know I have a couple of things on my phone that I worry about, or I think about. One is YouTube. I'm not constantly checking the internet and checking my phone to see what's going on YouTube. The other thing is my other social media like Facebook and Instagram, and I don't spend nearly as much time. I mean, I spend very little time on there every day. Maybe it's 15 minutes. I check my email. Sometimes I get line messages, regular messages, WhatsApp messages, those kind of things. And really, other than that, and phone calls, that is what my phone is for. Because I don't need it for other things. And then sometimes I'm sitting there and looking at my phone going, well, what do I want to do? What do I need to do? And I'm like, well, I don't really have anything to do, so I'll just look around. No, I don't want to just look around, because you're pissing your time away. So that's something else. Richard, do you sell regular coffee or only chuga? And expecting this generation to voluntarily serve in this super divided culture is a big ask. American pride is taking a big hit. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's what I'm going to say. And fortunately, I don't live in America. I'm happy I don't live in America. I know there are quite a few people, and some of them are in the stream. Some of them used to be in the stream, and they are stuck in the United States, and they don't know what to do. They have no way. They're in their 30s or 40s, and they're thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? They don't have the money to do it, so they don't have that option. They don't have that privilege. So that's a big deal. And then, the cost of living is getting higher and higher, and salaries generally aren't going up enough to be able to cover that cost of living. Let's see, what else here? Food quality. Wow. I didn't think of this one. Food quality. From chlorinated chicken to not being able to get clean water. There are a lot of questionable food items in the U.S. This is normally to keep costs down and make food last longer on the shelves at the detriment of quality. That's the big thing. You know, I go to the grocery almost every day. I probably come to the grocery 5 times a week. And it's not because, oh, I forgot this, I forgot that, I've got to go and get this, I've got to go and get that. No, it's because I don't want to be buying things and having them sit. You know, I don't want that. So I want to go and get fresh produce and everything like that as best as I can. The reason food in Europe tastes so good is because they have fresh, high-quality ingredients. Even going to the cheaper supermarkets, you'll be able to get great, seasonal, local produce that you can cook with at home. So that's another reason, is the food quality. And, you know, between the shrinkflation and the quality of the food and the cost of the food, I mean, that's a huge reason to say I don't want to live here. I mean, you know, you can get around it, you can spend more money, but it's a big reason, you know. Now here comes we're going back to the work-life balance, and it is the legal requirement for paid vacation and parental leave. Some countries have higher amounts than others. For example, the legal minimum vacation leave in the UK is 28 days, which includes the 8 bank holidays for the years. In Austria, you can get 5 weeks of paid vacation a year. For parental leave, there are legal requirements for maternity and paternity leave. Some even have bereavement leave requirements in case of miscarriages or stillborns. This kind of social care helps new parents adjust, care for, and adapt for their new lives before they have a staggered return to the workplace. Now, what this means, though, is you're going to have to pay more. This means the price of products is going up. The price of service goes up. So it's a no-win situation, but, you know, it breaks down to the work-life balance. And, yeah, I don't know how to get around this. I don't have the answers. I'm just discussing this issue. Now, I wanted to get into something else, too, while I'm on the subject, and that is that, you know, leaving may not be the best answer, but I was reading an article. It's in the Michigan Daily. And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, I believe it's a woman. The writer, the author is a woman. And she wrote a couple of things, and all I could do is just shake my head, because it shows me how she does not have any real information from other parts of the world. She's just going by what she hears. And in this one case, here she is, she's talking about how she went to London, and she was just a few minutes walk away from Hyde Park, and she was very close to all the attractions she wanted to see, all the tourist attractions, and it was very walkable, but she says there was a lack of cleanliness from the large population density that the government clearly could not keep up with. Trash was regularly piled on the sidewalks, creating a stench and rodent problem we suffered through on our own trip. Every few days, the garbage on the street is collected, but there aren't enough bins for the number of people in the city, so piles of trash on the streets were normal. Now, I can tell you something, and I've only been in the U.S. a couple of times in the past, say, 5 years, and I can tell you that there is garbage in some places in America that doesn't get picked up right away. There are places that are filthy, just like here in Bangkok. If you're in my village, it's clean. You come out of the village, now they're trying to clean it up, but there are still places where garbage is everywhere. You go and you look at it, all you gotta do is look at a canal here. But you're in the U.S., there are things like that too, so I don't know what she's talking about. We even had an encounter with a mouse under our bed that we had to trap, and another at a restaurant we were at. I've had it happen in the U.S. There was a rat in the Chinese restaurant. Now, this is a long time ago, but I don't know what she's talking about. I've never felt such appreciation for the garbage collectors that wake me up every morning. Let's see here. She's talking about the bad air pollution in London. The great stink. As the 20th century rolled around, the air quality of London continued to deteriorate, creating the great smog and thousands of deaths. Though there has been a drastic decline in air pollution in London and an improvement in air quality, there is still a palpable level of air pollution that I could not shake in my short visit there. Okay. Again, this happens in the United States. I went to Moscow, Russia, many years ago now. And I'm in a car with a couple other guys, and the guy who's driving, we're driving along, and we're on the freeway. And every single car was covered in soot. They were not clean. The cars had a layer of soot on them. And I'm like, this place is filthy. And oh, this is the guy with the little gimbal here walking by. And I'm thinking, man, this place is filthy. I mean, you think there's no air pollution in the United States? I don't know what she's thinking about. She's in Michigan. And I can tell you, I had a girlfriend who was from Michigan. I went out with her for a couple of years. And she was, how shall I say, a little bit behind the times. She didn't have a lot of worldly knowledge. Even though I came back to Michigan with air quality warnings galore, it was still fresher air than what I had experienced in London. Okay, so is that going to cause you to maybe not pick somewhere else that has air quality that's comparable to Michigan? The one thing that, here's what really got me. The one thing that really made me miss home the most was the people. Don't get me wrong, America has plenty of people I don't get along with, but one thing I can say about the culture here is the kindness of strangers. It's perfectly normal to wave to a neighbor you don't know or smile at a stranger as you walk down the streets. It's also common courtesy to give way to pedestrians here. Meanwhile, we almost got run over multiple times in London and were called wankers when we did not cross the street in time. Now, if you know anything, listen, I've been to London many times. You gotta be careful. I don't care where you are. Be careful. But the people were nice in London. The people are nice in Thailand. The people were nice in Ecuador. They were friendly. Generally, people tend to be sort of friendly. They're not all that way. But so this lady is saying, because of her experiences in London, this is one place. She doesn't think that the people elsewhere are as friendly. Though it depends on locality, there's been an increase in representation in growing communities from many minorities in the United States. I love going to Dearborn for the taste of Middle East and a sense of Arab community, as more than 40% of its population is made up of Arab Americans. Places like this exist across the country, with many cities serving as meeting locations to host cultural enclaves. The diversity of the United States is a beautiful thing and is only growing as the years pass. Now, what I will say about that is diversity can be a wonderful thing, but sometimes people don't want you there. Certain cultures, no. It's the Michigan Daily. Certain cultures don't want you around them, or they feel like you are, even here in Thailand, let's face it, a lot of people, they go in and, the Thais are like, what do you want? They kind of want to know, what are you doing here? And, that's no different than anywhere else. So I don't know what she's talking about. There's two more things that really got me here. Well, three. Her whole article got me. Let me see here. Each election season, there are many Americans who declare they will leave the United States because they are unhappy with the results. In reality, this declaration comes from a place of privilege. Well, it may come from a place of privilege, but there's a reason why. There's a reason why these people say that and then they never do it. Why? Think about all the celebrities that have said, if Trump wins, I'm leaving, and then they don't leave. So they may have the privilege, but they still are like, oh, I'm not going to move. Now, a couple people did move, and they didn't really move because of Trump. They moved for other reasons. They moved because they decided that it's a better place to go. The lady, what's her name? Belinda Carlisle, I think she was with the Go-Go's. She moved to Portugal. She's in Portugal. That's where she lives now. Now, you think she probably doesn't have a place back in the U.S.? I'm going to say she does. So, all the people that say, if so-and-so does this, or if he gets into power, I'm leaving. Well, most of them never leave. They're full of it. And if you think about it, if you're in a place like Syria or somewhere like that, you may not be able to leave. You might be extremely privileged to be able to leave. So, that's something else to think about. The U.S. passport is a pretty good passport. It ranks pretty high. It's something like 40 out of 200 countries. So you can do a lot with your passport. You can go a lot of different places. This one says here, United States citizenship is a powerful tool and can be used to travel to countries across the world, knowing there is air conditioning, free water at restaurants, and paper towels in a bathroom waiting for you back home. So she's got to have all these things. I mean, it's nice to have them, of course. And while 2/4 Korean and I were looking for a restaurant in Cambodia that had air conditioning, I'll be honest, we were looking for a place and we were like, hey, well, why don't we have air conditioning? But we did without it. It wasn't a big deal. And, that's how it goes. Hello there, Mr. Andy Travels. How you doing? What's happening? I think Madonna lives in Portugal. I don't know. Maybe she does. I gotta say, I like Portugal, and I really wish I could get around and see a couple of more cities, and I could go, do a real reconnaissance mission there. I liked it there, but I didn't really like the prices. I didn't really like the prices too much. I mean, we could go somewhere and get a cheap coffee or get some, we went out for breakfast one morning and we had, some Danish, and we had, an espresso, and I think Nicholas had a hot cocoa or something. And I mean, we got out of there and it was like $5, $6 for all of us. So it was pretty cheap. But when you go out for a dinner, it's not cheap. I mean, there were a couple places we went that were very expensive. I thought they were very expensive. When you're paying $25, $35 for one person for a meal and it's nothing really special, to me, that's a little too much. And, this is a place, Portugal is a place that's supposed to be known as a relatively cost-effective place to live. And one thing that is interesting, I can only imagine who you are, Charlie K. and you keep coming back. You can't stay away. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just that good, but you just can't stay away from the channel. That's why, you get blocked for a reason. Anyway. Oh, is it Father's Day? Well, happy Father's Day to all you fathers there in Oz. Hang on a second here. Also, wherever you go in the United States, you will be met with excessively large portions and admittedly tasty tap water. Okay, you can drink the tap water in most places. Because food in the United States is cheaper to make. How is it cheaper to make the food in the United States? I don't get this. How is it cheaper? You have people being paid a minimum wage that is higher in many other countries. Now, you know what? I got to get on the subject because it really burns me up. And it's the tipping. Now, you go into a coffee shop, you get a coffee, and it'll say, how much do you want to tip? And you're doing it right in front of the counter person. You don't have, you got a person standing over you looking. And if you say no tip, you're it's kind of like, oh, well, you're a cheapskate. And, I don't care. They can think I'm cheap. I don't care. And, then I just won't go back because once you do that, if they remember you, then you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if they're going to spit in your food or in your drink or whatever. But I don't like that. And I just saw an article, or I saw a video rather, about how tipping it's getting to where it's the tipping point now, where so many places are asking if you want to tip, or they are just including the tip, that people are starting to fight back and they're starting to go, oh, I'm not giving you a tip because the price is too high. I don't tip on Grab. I almost never tip on Grab. I will tip on a Grab taxi if it's only a couple of baht. If it's 73 baht, I'll give them the 80 baht, just to round it up for my own edification. Not for them, not because, generally if they get me from point A to point B, I'm grateful. So they get a tip. But, when you go into a coffee shop and you're picking up an order, why do I have to give you a 20% tip? Why am I expected to? Listen, if you're only paying your people $2.31 or whatever it is, and they make all their money from tips, that's on the company. It's not on me. So, all right, let's get back to this here. Walkability. Walkability in the United States is a big problem. A lot of people are not going to. Thank you very much there, Mr. Jack. Thank you. Choke knee to you. And I appreciate it. But the walkability, everybody knows, if you watch my channel, I walk a lot. And I can tell you that, you might be surprised, but my legs are solid as a rock. And, doing the yoga and being in the gym, that just helps. But the walking alone has kept my legs really toned, and I'm very fit because of it. I'm fit, with my legs are extremely fit. So you need to be able to walk, but, Bangkok pretty much is a place where you can get around and you can walk to places if you want. I'm not saying walk from here to, Siam Square or something like that. That is a number of miles. I'm saying, you can take the SkyTrain or the subway or whatever, and then you just walk from wherever you have to walk. But in America, most of the cities are set up, you got to have a car. And if you don't have a car, you're taking the bus, and it's not easy. The buses don't go all the places. It's not like it is here, where you want to go somewhere, you can get pretty much anywhere here. They've really got it set up here quite well. We take it for granted. You take what? The drinking water? As far as I remember, the drinking water in the United States, or at least in Florida where I come from, the drinking water has always been fine. You know, I don't know. Yes, you can tell the difference between some waters, and, you know, some water you taste it and you go, oh, this is really good. But it's not like you're tasting lemonade that's so great and you're tasting water that is just average, and you can see the difference like that. You can just taste a mild difference. But, you know, that's the good thing. Let's see here. Having some internet problems here. So the walkability, and not only that, you know, when you're able to walk around the city, you get to know the city better. If you're driving around, you don't always get to know the city, you know. So that's a big plus. And here in Bangkok, I mean, you can walk as little or as much as you want to. I mean, if you don't want to walk, you don't have to. You can take a taxi everywhere you go. All of a sudden, like, an influx of people came in. There's like 5 people came in, and they're all ordering at the same time. Cheers. So, you know, when you think about it, it's kind of nice to be able to walk down the street or something like that. Now it is, I mean, right now it's just starting to get overcast now. I don't know what happened, but in you know, a matter of 5-10 minutes, the clouds came in. But most of the time, it's pretty darn hot, and you know, if you're not walking in the shade, and you're walking more than 5 or 10 minutes, you're gonna sweat. All right, let's go on to another reason here. All right, now this one here, if you love traveling abroad, you'll know that U.S. flights, internal or external, are pretty expensive. Whereas in Europe, you can fly like from London to Berlin or London to Rome, and it's generally inexpensive. However, you know, you're going to be on one of the budget airlines, but whatever. And you might only be carrying, you might have a carry-on bag, and that's all you're bringing. And I don't have a problem with that. So that's one of the benefits too, is that you can travel around Europe and go from country to country, whereas in the United States you go from state to state. And you know, for me, I don't know, traveling in the United States, going from state to state, it's nice, but it's not the same as traveling and going to, like, I don't know, you're going to go to Rome, and then you're going to go to Athens, and then you're going to go, it's not the same. There's a huge difference with the people, you know. Good morning there, fire dude. Alrighty. So the walkability was one thing, and I think that's pretty important, honestly. What does this say here, Andy? How come I don't have this on the... Oh, here we go. I've been looking at the culture in Egypt. Most people expect a tip for everything, even asking for directions. Yeah, I don't want to go to Egypt. I know somebody who's been there, and you know, he liked going to the pyramids and everything, but he did say that he was nagged to death and that he didn't feel all that safe. Now, what I will say is that, you know, I'm always looking at Ecuador and seeing what's going on over there. And my buddy, who we stayed with the last time, Teddy G, is in Ecuador right now. He's at his place. And I told my wife, I said, oh, well, he's there right now. She said, oh, does he know about the bomb that went off? I'm like, no, I don't know what's the deal with the bomb. Well, a bomb went off in Ecuador. Now, I don't know why the bomb went off, who set the bomb. I don't know anything about it. But I do know that if you were to compare Ecuador and Thailand, that Thailand is a safer destination. I can say that and be confident that it is safer. Now, maybe in the village where he lives, there's very, very little crime. But when you get into the big cities, crime is a big thing. So that's the other thing. For some people, they look at the United States and they think crime is out of hand. So they don't want to live there. They want to go somewhere else. I'd love to go to Egypt, especially the new museum. Egypt is low on my list of places to go. Low, low, low. Alrighty, let's see here. Oh, I didn't know this. The train system across mainland Europe is insanely good, with young adults frequently backpacking across the continent using inter-railing passes. Well, those passes are not that cheap anymore, but okay. If you want super cheap options, there are flick buses where you can travel from country to country for as little as €4. Okay. Now, what I will say is that the train system in Thailand is pretty good. The train system in Southeast Asia is pretty good. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty good. Some countries are better than others. Like Singapore, their train is good, but it's a very small country. If you're in Myanmar, I'm going to say the trains are pretty rough. I've been thinking about, this is one thing that I have been thinking about, and that is going on a train journey and stopping off. You know, if I was to like fly up to Chiang Mai and then work my way down by train and stop at like 2 places and then Bangkok and then go down to the south and stop at 2 or 3 places, it might be a fun trip. And you know, it's not gonna kill me. It's not something that I can't do. I think it's something that it could be fun. So I'm looking into that. I'm also looking at walking across the country again, but that's kind of a, you know, just takes, you just got to go down there, and then maybe you start early in the morning, you're done. And if you want, you stay another night. It's like a 3-day, 2-night thing. It could be fun to do it again. I haven't done it in years, so I may do it again. I don't know. I'm looking at April, but I'll go with a tour. Too many scams over there. Yeah. All right, so here's another. Now, you know, the whole thing is America really, is America a dump? Is it a place where you have to get out of? No, of course not. But if you want to gripe and groan about it, you want to complain about how you don't have any opportunities and you don't have this and you don't have that, go ahead, take your chances going somewhere else. But, you know, your problems will follow you wherever you go. Your issues will follow you wherever you go. Now, if you're in a good way, you're in good standing in the country, and you just think, I want to go somewhere else because I'm a little bored and I want to go see the world. You have a good time. That's why I left. I said, I want to see the world. I want to use Bangkok as a hub. And I want to see Southeast Asia. That's what I said. not the world, but I said Southeast Asia, and maybe I'll do some traveling. And I've done that. So for me, that's a successful mission. But not everybody wants to do that. Some people are like, I just want to come to Thailand and live there forever. It's so wonderful. It's paradise. It's utopia. You know, your walking trip was my first introduction to your channel. Loved it, especially the dogs. Oh, you mean walking across the country? Oh, well, yeah, those dogs were, I mean, they weren't that bad, but there were a lot of them. And they all had mange and had the purple stuff all over them. That made it kind of funny. Yeah. One other thing is language. And, you know, some Americans, they do speak 2 languages. But many, they just speak English, that's it. And it's not a priority in the U.S. to learn multiple languages, to be a polyglot. You might have a couple of, and this was me, a couple of rudimentary Spanish or French classes in high school. I had some Spanish classes in high school, and I had 1 year in college. And I didn't take any French, but everything I've learned from that point on, I mean, I still speak some Spanish. I'd have to be around some people for a while before I start picking it up again and start remembering things. But, you know, Thai, a little bit of Cambodian, a little bit of Burmese, you know, I mean, but in Europe, most children are brought up at least bilingual, if not trilingual, and it is not unusual for kids as young as 5 years old to learn both English and their country's first language at the same time. And that's when you have the most opportunity, and it's easiest to learn is when you're a young child, because you're like a sponge. You just pick up everything. So, I mean, you know, the smart way to go is when you're like 5 years old, you know, you make I would say 3 languages. You know, you learn Spanish, you learn like Chinese, or you learn French or Thai or whatever it is. But you learn 3 languages at the same time, and they make that mandatory. And I think that would be great in the United States, but they're never going to do that. America, it's the greatest place on earth. America. You know, as long as you have that mentality, you know, now with more people from, more immigrants coming in, I would say there are more people that speak multiple languages in the U.S. than in the past. But I still think that you should do that. I still think that if people have the opportunity, they should take language courses. So, but I mean, just take 2 years, 3 years. That's what you have to do. You study for 2 or 3 years, and you can speak a language fairly well. You can become proficient, and you know, that's really all you need. You become proficient, and then when you go live somewhere and you're speaking that language, you will be even better. Europe is different. It's good to grow up learning languages. We aren't landlocked with many European countries. No, but in Canada, they speak French. In America, there's a lot of people who speak Spanish. I mean, there's no reason why. It's just because Americans, they want to direct their energies elsewhere. So, all right, let me see here. Child care. Oh, wow, I didn't think of this one. Finally, we have child care. In a lot of countries, child care is free or highly subsidized. This is because a lot of preschools are within primary schools that are free anyway, so it all feeds into each other. It's also common to get child care vouchers from the government or financial benefits to help with the cost of raising a child. In the U.S., this is super rare, if not non-existent. If your workplace doesn't have some kind of child care benefit, or you don't have a big family to help out, it is really tricky to balance everything, both from a time perspective and financially. And this is why, before you have a child, you need to get your plan in motion. You need to know what you're going to do ahead of time. Who's going to take care of the kid? If I'm going to work, who's taking care of the kid? If mommy and daddy are both working, who's taking care of the kid? Can we afford it? Do we trust the person? There's all these things to think about. There are plenty of valid reasons to leave the U.S. for a new expat life. Elsewhere, there are loads of other reasons that are specific to certain towns, cities, or countries, but there are some of the big ticket issues that most expats flag as their main reason for relocating. See, now, she's talking about, yeah, I mean, this is just, what is it here? Hang on a second. Yeah, now this is brutally honest reasons to leave the U.S. ASAP. And some of these are pretty good. But this other woman in the Michigan Daily, here it is here. There is also the subject of transportation. Although the United States is not relatively known for its transportation system, it's not known at all for its transportation system. Let's just face facts. It is important to note that access to trains, buses, highways, and planes within the country allow for seamless travel across state lines without any customs or border crossings to go through. Okay, big deal. You're in the same country. So just because you have access to a train doesn't mean that that train, first of all, trains are not cheap. They're not cheap in the United States. They're expensive. I don't know about buses, but I'm going to say buses are a little bit cheaper than trains. And then everything else, big deal. Oh, you get to travel from Florida to New York, and it's you don't have to file any paperwork. It's ridiculous. There are certainly more expensive states and cities to live with higher tax rates and average cost of living, but there are gems that can be found where the cost of living is not extremely expensive and families can live comfortably with plenty of space. Yeah, okay, so then why do you want to leave? If you really want to stay in one of those places, go stay there. Go stay in, in Oklahoma City. Go stay in Montana. Whatever. The one thing that truly solidified that the United States was where I was meant to live lies in the average size of American homes. This paragraph is what got me. This is the one that really got me. Because how big of a house do you need? It's people buy houses based on what the most that they can afford, as instead of saying, listen, if I have a house and it's big enough, it doesn't have to be tiny. It doesn't have to be a tiny home. You're not living in a trailer. You're not living in anything like, some trailers are very big, but you're not living in the back of your pickup truck or in a van or something like that. As long as it's big enough, that should be good enough. But see, for this person, she says the United States has the second largest average home size in the world at about 1,900 square feet. There's just something about having an individual house with a big backyard in your own space for a big family that I could never sacrifice. Then you can stay in the United States and live in the United States. What do you need a huge house for with a huge backyard? I understand it's very nice to have that. But you can have it in Thailand if you want. What can I say? There's just, okay, sure, there are houses overseas, but they often end up being smaller than here. Okay. If you want a big house in Thailand, you can build that house. You can buy the land and build the house, and you'll be very comfortable, and it'll be quite nice. You don't have to have a small house. You don't have to live in a little condo. You don't have to have a tiny little apartment. You don't have to have that. I mean, we live in a house, and I would say, Nicholas doesn't live with us anymore. That house is big enough for us. Seriously. If my wife got rid of some of her junk, we'd have a lot more room in our house. but it's big enough. I mean, we have 4 bedrooms. 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. So what do we need larger for? I need a 7-bathroom house? Yeah, exactly. And, you know, listen, 2 quarters Korean, if you really wanted to look at houses, you know, you tell Bo to look for you. And she'll find you something that, you know, is big enough. The cost is right. She has a knack for doing it. Now, maybe it's all Thai people have a knack for doing it. I don't know. But she's not going to put you in a place like Jono's place where, you know, I mean, for what he pays there, I mean, it's nice and everything. But, you know, it's not very big. There you go. Australia is #1, numero uno. And it's also one of the more expensive places to live, you know. But the upper means smaller here. I shamelessly play into the American dream cliche of a house with a white picket fence. Okay, so then don't move. I had plenty of conversations with loved ones about how it has been difficult to be patriotic, especially recently in light of the extreme political polarization in the country and U.S. Supreme Court decisions that came out recently. All right, we know what this chick is. All right? She's a woke liberal. The diversity we value seems to be under scrutiny by the government, with constant new rulings and laws leaving everything up in the air. Listen, the diversity we value, I mean, the United States is a melting pot. It always has been. But you should not be forced into diversity. When it happens, if it happens, fine. We don't know what the country will look like 10 or 50 years from now, but we must acknowledge that for the most part, the majority of Americans are in an extremely privileged position where their safety and health is not an immediate risk due to where and how they live. This is something we often take for granted because we do not know any better. The United States is not perfect by any means, but running to another country is not the answer to the first world problems most of us experience. The truth is the perfect place for most people is extremely out of reach. And that is a bunch of BS. It's not perfect. And if you don't like the way that the United States is, you can often, if you are in that privileged group, which there are quite a few people who are privileged enough to be able to say, all I need is $2,000 and I can go live in Thailand or Ecuador or Portugal or wherever it is, and I don't have to deal with that. No, you're going to have to deal with a different set of problems, but, you know, you're not going to be in the same position as this person. Oh, running away. No, I'm not saying run away. I'm saying if you want a different set of problems, you're going to have to look at what those problems are and say, do those bother me? And then whatever it is you're leaving, when you go to the new place, it's going to be better. In the U.S., you can find diversity and representation of loads of cultures and ethnicities wherever you go, with a free cup of water to take on your journey. Wow, a free cup of water. That's going to make everything better. It's ridiculous. Everywhere has its issues, but I'm never going to feel comfortable leaving my place of privilege just to prove a point. No, you're not doing it just to prove a point. You're doing it because you want to see what is out there, what's different. You, this person, is a perfect example of a person who cannot think that maybe America is not the very best in all ways. Oh, we've got our share of problems, but it's so great. She, you know, she teaches at the University of Michigan. I ought to write her. She writes about campus culture and her everyday musings. Ugh. God. For me, this country will always be home. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. But you can have a second home. That's why they have, Malaysia, my second home program. Portugal, my second home. Thailand is my second home. Hey, what's going on? What's happening, everybody? Anyway, so I think, her article is it illuminates some of the issues. And for her, the fact that she can't have a big backyard and a big house, she thinks she can't have that in other countries, is the reason for her not to leave. Or she's worried about the quality of the food or the elections. This lady, I'm going to say, this lady probably has not done all that much traveling. She's talking about her one trip to London. And that, you can't just base everything on your one trip to London. That's not how it works. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Where are we at for time here? 66 minutes. Oh, by the way, smash that like button. Doesn't have a picture of her. I'm going to look her up. Hang on. I'll look her up. Just for you. Let's see here. Oh, she doesn't have any pictures? Let me see. Oh. Let's see here. Hang on. I don't want to jump the gun. Oh God. I can't say if she's hot or not. All it shows is her face, and she's not a terrible looking girl, but she doesn't show. Oh, let me see here. Here's a picture. Let me see if I can see her here. She doesn't look all that bad, but she's not all that great either. Anyway, I mean, yeah, all right, maybe that makes a difference. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm trying to pull it up right now, but my internet is a bit slow today. Let's see here. It's not coming up yet. She was all right. I mean, Anyway, so there's that article. Now, another reason, for some people, gun control. There shouldn't be a need to teach kids about active shooter drills. No, there shouldn't be. This is not anything else, because on the whole, most countries have much, much better gun control laws. Okay. And they don't have the freedom to be able to bear arms. They don't have that built into the system. Oh, still doesn't come up. What was that question? Let me see here. How good is the internet? Well, generally, it's quite good. My mobile phone is like, what is it? 30 gigabytes per second. And at home, I think we're 500 megabytes per second, up and 500 down, generally. I remember practicing nuclear drills in school. Now, I know it was stupid. If it's nuclear, we're dead. I still remember those two. And, you know, we have fire drills, earthquake drills, tsunami drills, tornado drills. All kids should be prepared for emergencies. Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. And so, what are you going to do? You know, I mean, you try to teach them, and that's about all you can do. Let me see here. I think I got the picture up here. I'm trying to check this. The author. I'm trying to check her out. Crazy. The gun control. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I know a lot of Aussies that think that, you know, America's gun control laws are crazy and all this other kind of thing. Even countries like New Zealand and the UK with long traditions of hunting with guns have gun control laws that have massively lowered mass shootings. One of the leading causes of child mortality in the US is now gun crime. This is horrific and ridiculous. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. That's one of the leading, it's probably like number 12 or something. No one outside of an active war zone who is trained rigorously has any need for an assault rifle. Okay, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, you know, I don't live there anymore. I don't want to deal with it. It's, you know, I think you should have the right to bear arms. I don't know about having an assault rifle. That's a bit crazy, but washing at my feet here. The lack of gun control is a major reason that people are leaving the U.S., particularly by families. It's sad, but it's the reality with gun laws as they are at the moment. That's just bullshit. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. It's not one of the main reasons. The main reason has to do with money. It doesn't have to do with guns. It's all about the do-re-mi. If I can live in Thailand for $3,000 a month and live like a king, or I go back to the States and I'm struggling, what place do I want to live? And it's safer here than it is in the U.S. I don't have to worry about guns here for the most part, and yet Thais tend to have guns. Something like 60% of Thais own guns. All right, affordable or universal health care. Another major benefit that many expats cite as a reason for leaving the U.S. is the cost of health care. You shouldn't wake up in a hospital after an accident and have to think about whether you can afford to be healed. No, you shouldn't have to, but you do. If you have a medical condition, get in an accident, or diagnosed with cancer, or even want to have a baby, the costs in the U.S. are astronomical. Socialized medicine exists in most of Europe, and for the locals is a no-brainer. I've lived abroad for many years and love helping others find work abroad and figure out their move abroad plan. Oh, so she's selling classes on how to move abroad. Oh, Jesus. So am I. All right, I'm selling classes as well. Let's see here. Crime's getting worse in the U.S. They just robbed a pizza shop near my house. Yeah, I mean, they're letting people steal. Where is it, in Oregon? They're allowed to steal. Up to, like, what is it, $800, $900, something like that? And they're not going to do anything about it. It's ridiculous. The things that are going on now are ridiculous in the U.S. If you look at it logically, many of these laws should not even be passed. Good morning, Mr. Monash. I purchased a slingshot in Thailand to shoot pigeons. The slingshots were sold next to a bag of marbles. Coincidence? I don't think so. No. And your point being, it's a slingshot. Is that a big deal? I know it's maybe a big deal in Oz, but it's not a big deal here. On the news today, some schools in the U.S. are instilling safe rooms just in case. Let's face it, of all the instances that have occurred in the last, say, 30 years, what is the percentage of schools where something has happened? It's got to be very, very low. And let's remember that the United States is 50 times larger than Thailand. It's a lot larger than any country in Europe. We're not talking about, oh, it's Florida. Oh, it's Mississippi. No, we're talking about the entire United States. It's big. So you got to take that into consideration. Crime is like watching porn, goes up and down and eventually hits a climax. You've got to relate it to that, don't you? I don't know where Gennaro is. He has not been in for quite some time. And, like I said, I hope he's okay. But, we'll know soon enough because he hasn't been in at all. And it's unusual. Let me see something here. See, what is the, let's forget about this girl because she's not showing up here. Yeah, I'm sad he died too. He's attending Spanish 102 at Palo Alto. USA population is only 5 times that of Thailand. Now, wait a minute, let me think here. Oh shit. Hang on a second. Let me see something here. Okay. U.S. population 5 times that of Thailand. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's true. They pack them in here. Tommy Bahamas is the only reason to stay in the U.S., but I can have my daughter shop there for me and send it to Isan. Do you know any Tommy shops in Thailand? It's funny you're asking me about that. You can't get Tommy Bahamas in Thailand from Tommy Bahamas unless you want to pay an astronomical amount for the import duties. It makes it not worth it because, like, I bought a couple pairs of shorts the last time I was in Florida, and they were what, $30, $35 each, something like that. If I was to buy them here, they'd be like $100. They make you pay the import duties and fees. So, I bet they have a good food at Buffett's funeral where you can demographics. Alrighty, so let me see here. What did I say? I said universal health care. Well, the healthcare here in Thailand. I guess they've got it somewhat sorted, but. You want to go to a private hospital, it's still very expensive. Even with insurance, it can be quite expensive. But in the United States, they need to get it figured out. And, the problem with these politicians is that they're in such disagreement, they never manage to get very few things done. They disagree on a host of subjects. And yet, when it comes, or they pack it in with another bill, and that bill won't pass because they don't agree with one portion of the bill. And so they're stuck. And it's gridlock. That's exactly what it is. All right, let's see here. Women's rights After the repealing of Roe versus Wade, this is a pressing issue for many Americans. Women's rights in the U.S. are taking hit after hit. Oh, Jesus. This has got to be, let me see here. Oh, yeah, Vanessa M.W. Boy. Let me see here. Travel tech professional. Oh, God, is this her? I currently live and work in Germany full-time, and I help people pursue financial and location independence on... Oh, my God. She looks great in the picture, but I bet you that in real life, she doesn't look the same. She's originally from Los Angeles, California. She is a proud Chicana and has been living abroad for the last 9 years. Today, she helps people pursue financial and location independence through a move abroad, masterclass, financial literacy, and career workshop. All right, good for you, honey. What was I talking about here? Work-life balance, women's rights. Yeah, you know she's going to say something about it being a woman. I don't think that women's rights have went backwards in the United States. I know very little about it, and I'm speaking as an uneducated person, but I'm going to say from what I've seen, they've progressed by leaps and bounds. When the women's soccer team makes as much as the men's soccer team and more, and yet they bring in 20% of the revenue that the men's football team brings in. The football as in soccer. To me, that doesn't make sense. That's just stupid. You bring in $1 million, your cut is $100,000. You bring in $200,000, your cut is $200,000. If you're bringing in $100,000, your cut is $10,000. To me, that seems fair. But I guess to women, or this woman, it's not fair. Yeah, all that. This is ridiculous. Gymnastics here in Oz will allow trans men to compete with girls. No. All right, listen, I gotta say this again. Please do me a favor and smash the like button. Smash it. Lots of people coming in. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Hey, join. Become a VIP member of the channel. Go to my website, get a VIP membership. Go down and you just hit the Patreon patron. That'll do it for you too. There's all kinds of ways that you can help the channel and help this channel and help me to continue doing what I'm doing. That would be greatly appreciated. So whatever you do, that would be great. Hit the join button, leave a super chat, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. All right. I wouldn't read one word from some entitled leftist who wants to lecture everybody about patriarchy. Nobody's going to lecture me. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean I'm going to listen. You know. And nobody cares what people are here. I mean, they do care, Dalla, don't kid yourself. They do care. And that's why you don't see very many transgender who are leading Fortune 500 companies or the CEO of companies here in Thailand. You don't see that very often. And even like in Starbucks, you don't see them at the cash register. They're not interacting with customers. They're basically wiping the tables. That's what they do. I've seen like 3 of them. I think 3 or 4. And none of them are ever working the register or serving people their food. Ever. So, there you go. You know, that's their equality. Equality here means means tolerating them, means understanding that they have a place in society, whatever it may be, whether it's good or bad. But, you know, they do get a little bit of grief here. And if you ever watch that movie, Beautiful Boxer, about the Muay Thai fighter, let's see here, how was it? I'm trying to get it all straight in my head. He was, he practiced Muay Thai, and then he became a woman, and he was fighting men and beating them. And he became, well, I mean, they made a movie about him here, and he became somewhat of a star. I mean, you know, people know who, I guess it's a she now. You know, that's what's going on. Now, you see, for me, I got a foot massage from one a couple of years ago, and it was all right, but I would not get a full body massage from one. I would be like, nah, no, sorry. It's just, you know, it's me. It's me, it's not you. I'm going to give him the, it's me, it's not you. You go ahead, you go right in there and you use those female toilets. Have at it, buddy. All right, let me see something here. Gotta look at this again. All right, we were talking about women's rights. The maternal mortality rate in the U.S. is shocking, considering that it's supposed to be a first world country. Shocking? Put this together with the lack of equal pay in many industries. Listen, don't get me started on this rubbish. The lack of equal pay in many industries. Yet it's even worse if you're a woman from a minority background, and it's a wonder that all U.S. women haven't jumped ship already. Listen, if women are getting paid less than they were, than they should, than some of the men, there's a reason why. So, anyway, I don't know. What are you saying? All right, I said cost of living. Here's another one. This is one of the 18 reasons to leave the country. Now, I can tell you that for me and for many of the people that I know, none of these were the reason. My reason was I wanted to see the world. I wanted some adventure. Where is Bum Gum Chuck? He is in the U.S. and I forget when he said he's coming over here, but I just talked to him about a week ago, and he said he'll be here in I think it's December or something. Or he's going to Taiwan first, and then maybe he'll come over here. I can't keep him straight because between him and everybody else, you know. I thought he said December 5th or something like that. But one of the other reasons that this person is stating that people leave is violence driven by racism. Again, this depends on where you are and where you're moving to. Unfortunately, racism exists pretty much everywhere. It shouldn't, but it does. However, parts of the U.S. make racism look like the norm. Oh my God. The rise in hate crimes in the AAPI community, the Black Lives Matter protest. Yeah, why are they protesting? Why? Listen, I don't agree with this woman. That's all I'm going to say. I don't agree with her. Continued rage against the Muslim community. Okay, that's true. You know. And also, there is the whole thing about people, you know, a certain genre of people knocking out old people. You know, oh, I'm going to leave the country because of that. This is ridiculous. This is all nonsense. College tuition and student debt. We've talked about medical debt. Now let's talk about student debt. It's massive. Teenagers are having to make a decision between attending college that they want or being saddled with a lifetime worth of debt. Listen, I'm going to tell you this as someone who, I put myself through 2 years of college. I know a lot of people who have put themselves through school. I know a lot of people who have put themselves through medical school, law school, whatever it might be, who've got master's degrees, and they paid for it themselves. They don't have people paying it back for them. They don't have taxpayers paying it. Maybe if the taxpayers weren't paying back their student loans that they knowingly got into when they went to school, there would be money for Social Security. And they wouldn't be complaining about it. Parents are struggling to put money away for college funds with the high cost of living. All in all, it's not a good place to be. Okay, so do what most people do. Get a job, go to school full-time and work full-time, sleep very little, bust your ass, beg, borrow, and steal. That's what people do. That's what they've always done. In most of Europe, college is free if you lived in the country for a specific amount of time. Okay, and each country has their own set of laws. In the United States, it's 50 countries. And they can't come up with something where the federal government is covering the cost of everything. So, you have to think about that. In most of Europe, college is free if you live in the country. For example, if you lived in Scotland for 7 years, you're eligible for 4 years of free university tuition. This is something that cascades down all the way through to preschools. All right, how big is Scotland? Not very big. Many preschools are part of primary schools in Europe and are free or highly subsidized. There are plenty of free to attend middle and high schools that pride themselves on high quality education. There are fee-paying private schools and boarding schools, but they're not as popular as they are in the United States. The public schools tend to offer a higher quality than public schools back in the U.S., so many families don't see the point in paying for a private school. College is stupid for most people, just a waste. Too many stupid degree programs. Some are great, but not many. Most people I know that have a degree don't use that knowledge for their job. No, what it is it's just another thing that gets your foot in the door that says, hey, I put in the time, I paid to go to higher education, now hire me. It really doesn't matter. I mean, think about it. If you have a business degree, you can teach English in Thailand. If you have a science degree, you can teach English in Thailand. If you have a science degree, you might use it in the hotel industry. You don't know, but that's the whole thing. America has done massive looting. Will start soon. They're about to make it harder for people to get food stamps each month starting next month. I don't know about that. Don't go to uni, be electrician, plumber, or other trades. There's big money here in Oz. Okay, well that's Oz. Yeah, I know who you are. I know exactly who you are. All right. I already talked about the food quality, vacation and parental leave. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Outrageous prescription cost. As a part of socialized medical care, many countries have free or highly subsidized prescriptions. Okay. So now this person wants socialized medicine in the United States. In Wales, all prescriptions are free for residents, whether you are a permanent resident or a student living there temporarily. If there is a charge for prescriptions, There's normally a price cap per visit. In England, the cap is £11 per prescription. You're not eligible for a free prescription. There's a list of exemptions. If you're diabetic, asthmatic, or need SSRIs, that's an ongoing medication that you're going to need to live. If you're going to have to, if you're having to fork out hundreds of dollars a month, that's just not feasible for many people. Add in the fact that many countries have free contraception, and these small changes actually save the economy hundreds of dollars a year in social cost. And this person does not seem to understand that if you're in the Scandinavian countries, if you're in, say, the UK, if you're in some of these other countries that have free healthcare or almost free healthcare, these are a lot smaller countries. And while that alone is not the reason for the cost to be so different, you think about what it would take for a federal program to get approved in the United States, something not like Obamacare. And it's ridiculous, and Obamacare is not cheap. You know, it's expensive. So, you know, medical care is another reason. But I don't know a whole lot of people that just say, I'm leaving the U.S. because I want to get better medical care. Now, I understand if you are, maybe, you know, you can go live in a different place and you're able to migrate to that place pretty easily, and then you know that that's part of the system. Okay, I understand that. But for somebody like me, for somebody like, say, Tom, or a lot of other people, yeah, I mean, you can get some kind of public health care here if you're working. But do you really want it? I mean, I guess, you know, okay, yeah, you do. But why not just pay for insurance? You know, I know it's a lot more expensive in the U.S. than it is here. And, you know, but it is what it is. You're going to pay what you pay here. You're going to pay what you pay in the United States, and that's why I say don't compare. You don't compare because when you live in Thailand, and if your insurance for one policy is, say, 4,500 baht, and in the U.S. it's $800, well, that's a huge difference. So, you know, when you're in Thailand, the cost of living is supposedly lower. Now, I'm not saying that the medical charges here in Thailand or in the United States are correct. I don't think that they should cost what they cost in the United States. I think it's outrageously expensive. But that's what it is. And, you know, you can compare all you want until they come up with some plan to lower the cost. It's going to be quite a bit more expensive. Cuba has a much better healthcare system than the U.S. and lower infant mortality, blah, blah, blah. U.S. has the most expensive medical care in the world. But in the U.S., I can fish on a boat in coastal waters. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Who cares about that? What does that matter? I think you can do that in Thailand too, can't you? Well, this place is just packed with people now. All right, let me move on here. Well, we could get into the discussion of healthcare for days. All right, another one. Car culture. One of the main things I've noticed when visiting the U.S. is that everyone drives. So much so it's part of high school. It's been part of high school for years, since the 50s, since the 40s. It's been part of high school. I don't understand why this person is writing these things. It's like, this is like an idiot wrote the article. car culture is not as big in Europe. The cities are designed for public transport, cycling, and walking. Not only is this more environmentally friendly, but it's also safer. Okay, environmentally friendly. That's an offshoot. I'm sure that certain people would like it to be in. Oh, you know, you're gonna get batteries in your car by 2035. Well, how much more? How much better is it for a country when the batteries are extremely expensive and you don't have a system set up? I don't know, you know, I don't know what the answers are for this stuff, but I can tell you that some of this is nonsense. Car culture is not as big in Europe. The cities are designed. Cars are one of the leading. Here's the big one. Cars are one of the leading causes of accidental deaths in the U.S. The thought that you need to drive everywhere is not something that's in the European psyche. I'm sorry, that's nonsense. There are a lot of people in Europe that I know. Almost everybody that I know in Europe has a car. They may not use it all the time. They may take other forms of transportation, but most of them have some kind of a car. It might be a little piece of shit. It might be a little beater, but they have a car, okay? Cars, even outside the cities, people walk around town, cycle in between villages, and take advantage of much more affordable and efficient public transport. It's funny that they don't talk anything about Southeast Asia, because inside the city, like I said, if you want, you can walk around Bangkok, and you don't need any transportation. You can just walk, you use your legs. But if you want to go across town, you need some kind of transportation. Now, if you want to use public transportation, you can use the propane gas buses, you can use electric buses, you can use the BTS, you can use the MRT, you can use whatever you want. You can get a taxi that runs on propane gas. You know, it doesn't really matter. But cars are one of the leading causes of accidental deaths in the U.S. So, is that going to stop people from driving their car in the U.S.? No, because the U.S. is a lot larger than Europe. That's what they don't understand. If you're in France, all right, France is a little bit bigger, but you know, let's say that you're in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is tiny, and people drive. But they also take buses and they take trains. They take what do they call those things? You know, little electric trains, trams. You know, so okay, it's great for them. But then you go another country over, maybe there's more people that drive. You also save a ton in gas, insurance, and mechanical bills. It's not even that U.S. cities are bigger and you can't walk them. Yes, it is. It is. I mean, in New York, they use the subway system. The subway doesn't take you everywhere. You can't go everywhere with the subway system in New York. You can go a few places, but you can't go everywhere. You know, and you can't just walk from the subway station to somewhere else. It might be quite a distance, and you're going to need a taxi, or you're going to have to get on a bus or something like that. In places like London, there are tolls to drive in the city, and honestly, it takes so much longer to drive from one part to another that it would be... Wait a minute. It takes so much longer to drive from one part to another than it would be if you just jumped on the tube for a couple of pounds. Okay. However, the tube may not take you where you need to go, which is why people have cars. All right. Let me see how much more we have here. We got a little bit of time, but the next one is culture. Or is that what it is? Let me see. Oh, no, wealth divide. Wealth divide. This is another one where it'll depend on your situation and where you want to move to, like it is for every situation. But the wealth divide in the U.S. is getting worse and worse. The stats about the billionaire growth during the pandemic, when many of us were scraping by, were horrific. You know, you see all these words, and, you know, horrific. It's not just things were bad. No, they were horrific. So it's got to be as bad as it possibly can be. The socialized services that exist across Europe tend to lessen the wealth cap. Of course, there are places where it still exists. Looking at you, UK, but you're not one emergency room visit away from losing your house or choosing between childcare and going to work. Come on. Most European countries have higher proportional taxes for wealthier individuals to help support the economy and subsidize the services that everyone benefits from. All right. I'm going to say that this lady is definitely a liberal. All right, here's another one, culture. One of the main reasons that people visit Europe is to benefit from, this is always Europe. It's not, we're not talking about Africa, we're not talking about Australia, we're not talking about Southeast Asia. It's only America and Europe. So you're going to leave America to go to Europe. We're not talking about South America. Congestion tax, wonderful. One of the main reasons that people visit Europe is to benefit from the centuries of culture that make the towns and cities here so vibrant and alive. Of course, there are galleries, museums, and theaters in the US, but the accessibility of it in Europe is amazing. Well, you know, if you jump in your car, you can get to a place that is a museum or a gallery. You might be able to get there in 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour or even 15 minutes. Crazy. This is crazy. Many museums and galleries are completely free to enter, and if there aren't any, there are always deals for students and residents or set free entry days. The immersion and affordability means that many European children grow up exposed to great art and culture, helping them to become more appreciative of art and more well-rounded. Now, I will say this. Europeans tend to be a bit more cultured than Americans, your average American. I will say that. And I mean, like, you know, they've been to galleries, museums, but some, listen, some Europeans never go anywhere. They don't go to any of these places. The immersion and affordability mean that many, oh, I already said this. All right, another one. History. Similar to the cultural aspect, the historic nature of countries outside the U.S. is impressive, as the different countries interact so much throughout history. Through wars, marriages, and empires, you tend to learn about the history of many different nations at school rather than just your own. Do I agree with that? Yes, I agree with it. I agree with it now and in the last, say, 10 years. I don't agree with it. Like when I was growing up, they didn't just teach you about America. They taught you about other countries and about what goes on in those countries and who runs them and how they're run. So, you know, I don't know what to say. I don't know why I'm reading this. I just thought it was good. We have the ease of travel. I already went over that. Language, childcare. All right, yeah. So, there you go. Hard to have your own culture if you haven't even got your own language. Or if you only speak one language. I speak English. What do you speak? Well, I speak English, I speak Spanish, I speak French, I speak Russian, and I speak Arabic. You know. So, that's how it goes. Anyway, I think that's about it. That's about all we got here. End of story. Is America trash? No, it's not trash. it's definitely not trash. All right? I mean, I'm American. I'm glad I don't live in America. I'm glad I don't live there because I live here. This is my home. I'm very comfortable here. And there are a lot of things here that I really like. Like if I want, when I'm done with this, I can go walk across the street, go get myself a meal. Or I can wait and go home and make myself a meal. I can go right across the street, and there's plenty of places I can go and get a meal for $1.25, $1.50. And I like that. And I can go out on the street and I can go get a little snack. I like that. Now, I don't like all the things that are going on in the United States. And, you know, that's just the way it goes. You know, I mean, I don't like everything that goes on here. So, you know, there's no difference. I don't like everything that goes on here. I don't like everything that goes on in the United States. And already there's some things I don't like about Ecuador. There's a lot of things I do like. Things I don't like about Portugal. You know. So, no matter where you go, there's going to be issues, and you're going to have to deal with them. So, if you decide that you don't want to live in America, oh my God, I can't live here, it's terrible. I'd say probably 80%, I'm going to go use the 80-20 rule again. 80% of people who don't want to live in America are probably pretty grounded, and they think, hey, you know what? I think I'd be better off living in this place or that place. I think I'll do better living somewhere else. But 20% of the people are a bunch of nut jobs. They're just like, they think that they're supposed to be given everything. You know, I'm gonna make, well, I can make it. I can make it over there by myself. How am I gonna do it? I don't know. Well, how are you gonna do it? I don't know. Well, then you can't go. Yeah, but I'm gonna do it. Okay, well then do it. And then they never do. And that's what happens. So, you know, you can talk about it until you're blue in the face. You can continue trying to do what you want to do, and you know, that's great, but at the end of the day, some people end up throwing their arms up and saying, well, I'll just live here and make the best of it. Or they just keep complaining. I don't know. So, but you do have options. If you really want, you can work it out, and you have options. So think about that. And join me again on Wednesday. I'd appreciate it. And you know, I've been looking to go to this place called the Metro Forest. There's a couple of other places that I want to go to, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to get to these places, but I will get to them. And I will go on another little trip pretty soon. So that's great. So, that's all I have. Until next time, I'm Scott. I am an American in Bangkok. Smash the like button, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. I'm Scott. I'm an American in Bangkok. Until next time, choke me, leo, jerk, and my. See you guys later.